us, it's all about getting out on the water one way or another. And I think all the sports complement each other. And there's going to be guys that are polarizing, like, windsurfing sucks, kiting sucks.
Yeah, right.
It's all about winging.
Yes.
I'm not like that, obviously. I ride whatever the conditions mandate, and I'm lucky enough to have all of the different gear.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, winging is going to be huge. It's so accessible. It's so easy to learn. As I said from the beginning, at least at the moment, the beauty's in the simplicity.
Yeah.
It's going to get complicated pretty quickly.
Right.
There's this run to be a technical sport faster than I think is necessary. But at the moment, the simple stupid is pretty attractive. You got a little board, you got a foil, you got a pump up wing, you got no rigging, and out you go.
Yeah.
Gusty wind, flat water, waves. It's really very pliable, like kiting is.
Yeah.
So it's got a huge future. I think it goes hand in hand with kiting. Kiting's different.
Yeah.
Kiting's more three-dimensional still.
Yeah.
Like there's no way to go jump 50 feet in the air in flat water like you can on a kite. That's never going to be replaced by anything. It's unbelievable what you can do with a kite with not a lot of wind and dead flat water.
Yeah.
Not to mention the foiling and the wave riding and everything else.
Yeah.
But without a doubt, winging's bringing a whole new perspective to getting people into the wind and onto the water.
Do you think it will be a gateway sport to kiting maybe? Because one of the hardest things I think about learning to kite surf is, if you're not from a wind background, is like learning the wind. And do you think winging will help with that? People?
It's not going to hurt, because it's definitely attractive already to people that have traditionally not only not been into wind sport, but even guys that have been anti-wind sport.
Right.
You come to Maui, there's guys that were kiting sucks and windsurfing sucks, like full surf crew.
Yeah.
And they're getting into winging. Somehow there's an appeal there that we haven't seen with windsurfing or kiting before. And again, once you get a taste of that, right, and you see what you can do on a kite, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people that transfer over and go, okay, this is cool, that looks cool too now, right, and try kiting as well.
If you go back like 2 years ago, it was still like questioned by a lot of people, right? They're like, oh, winging, it's not, it's kind of dorky or whatever. And now you see all these people like backpedaling or whatever.
Right,
So I mean, for sure here, like this is like a wing mecca kind of. I mean, yesterday there was probably at one given moment, 40, 50 wings on the water and like a couple kites, where in past years, there have been a gazillion kites on the water.
Yeah.
So definitely location, condition dependent, wings absolutely exploding.
Yes.
But I would say in general, I mean, for sure. I mean, it's just going through the roof.
Yeah.
And it's opening up new riding areas, right? Like all of a sudden, like if you don't have a good space to launch your kite, if the wind's gusty and marginal, winging.
Do you think that winging will help people get into the water sports, like a different demographic of people getting to the water sport?
I think so, yeah. Because, and what I've learned myself a lot, like through the, I guess, e-foil industry, is there's a huge market inland that has water in these lakes and other areas, but they don't have beach access, right? You've got trees straight up to the water, or you're launching off a dock or something. And I think a lot of people too have like looked at kiting and they've maybe been a little bit intimidated just because you've got lines and you need all the space and you get worried about the, getting, going flying into the air and all these things that we know are kind of irrelevant, but to your average person, they're still a little hesitant to kite, where they look at winging and they see it as something a lot more achievable. So I've definitely seen a lot of interest from people that would never have kited, and it's really cool to see through the surf industry as well. Like guys like, Nathan Florence, and I think like, probably Kai Lenny has really helped bridge that gap a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of seeing that where it's like, local surfers at home in Hatteras who are interested in it.
Would never kite.
They would never kite, for sure, never kite, but they now see winging and they like that wave riding aspect of it.
Right.
So I think it's a really good way, certainly I'd say it looks like probably maybe 50% or so of the kite industry seems like those, consumers or customers are getting into winging. And that's certainly me, just looking for another outlet.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of the growth for winging is probably in a lot of areas people that would never and have never kited, which is what I like to see for sure.
Yeah. The growth of water sports in general is beneficial for all of those sports. I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And hopefully for those people too, like bridge the gap and bring, expose them to kiting and get them an understanding of, the water and the wind and just, how much fun we all have and they've been missing out on. Yeah.
So what are you loving about winging right now?
I mean, for me, I've been kiting for a long time, so
Yeah.
I definitely initially enjoyed just kind of like being a beginner again and like
Yeah.
going through that learning curve.
Yeah.
And I think as the gear has progressed, initially for me it was more of just like that experience of relearning something that
Yeah.
I enjoyed. But as the gear got better, specifically the wings and the foils, I would say,
Yeah.
I think I really got, like in those marginal condition days, it's great. Like in really, really light wind, kite foiling. If it's absolutely nuking and going off surf, like I'm never gonna give up kiting for that.
Yeah.
But on those days where it's just like, yeah, 12-meter wind day, just kind of 15 to 20,
Yeah.
soft waves, nothing too exciting. I mean, that's where winging is like, I mean,
Taking
that's where it's really fun. It
Yeah.
takes just like a pretty mellow, unexciting wave, and foiling on it's epic. And just being able to, not paddling, catch a
Yeah.
wave 100, 200 yards out the back and just ride it all the way in and ride back out.
Yeah.
That's, for me, that's what I really like the most.
Well, how are you telling your friends to fit winging into their daily
I mean,
activities?
I don't know. I'm not having any problem
No.
convincing people to try winging.
That's amazing. Eh?
It's wild
Do you find
in
it's
Hawaii.
do you think it's going to be a gateway to kite surfing?
I mean,
in a
I
way?
think it complements kiting really well because there's so many days that I'd rather wing than kite. You know,
Yeah.
if it's, knee-high, waist-high waves, the wind's all right, maybe a little funky, where it'd be not ideal for big air, way too small to wave ride.
Yeah.
You go winging and you're just having a blast.
Cool.
So I think it fits really well because when the waves are pumping or it's really huge, great big air conditions,
Yeah.
then obviously kiting's the ticket. But yeah, a lot of times we get subpar conditions.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
And to be able to like catch a wave so far on the outside and let your wing luff out and just cruise, I mean, to me it's a dream. Like
Yeah.
just no longer searching for any sort of lift, you have endless.
I think that is a really interesting thing in development is like an evolution somewhere else will disrupt your whole process in terms of development. It will affect a change, like the invention of the large hydrofoil basically changed kites and ushered wings into the whole industry. So I mean, what we see now is it's sports. Like I mean,
Yes.
this is multi-sport, and for each person, I mean, you can start paddling around in an SUP, and that's like a great entry point.
Right.
And then from there, you can go to winging, you can go to foiling, you can go to surf
Yes.
foiling. So I think the multiple entry points into the sport.
So the key is people get a foil and learn to do it, because then your options become limitless.
Exactly.
Yeah, get off your phone and off your computer and get on the water one way or another.